up in their best to bury their children and their grandchildren. Paisley is still the same kind and giving place, ready to react when the chips are down and help our neighbours and friends. Only nowadays, and because of the families who personally experienced it, are long gone. We write poetry, we sing songs, hold memorial services, and more importantly, remind ourselves that these children were real. They are not just a story. They had families who loved them, scolded them, fed them, clothed them, and taught them. They had little pals to play with to accompany them on adventures. They were still buzzing from the Christmas day of 1929, and they were loving being on holiday from school. They had nothing to worry about that particular day but getting to and from the cinema for a wee bit of escapism. Who doesn't love going to the cinema? I remember going to the matinee usually. None of them could even begin to imagine what was about to take place. So every year we make sure we remember them. We also think about the children who survived, and we are very lucky today that we have two of the survivors with us. Over the years, not all of the survivors came forward to take part in the public commemorations. Some of them just couldn't handle it, and who could blame them? But as much as we feel sadness today, don't feel guilty for feeling a sense of happiness or achievement, because for the first time in 92 years, we have a place dedicated to Paisley's children lost at the Glen and sight line of the Glen itself. For the first time, we have created a special place where we can remember all those children and their families and share in the sense of loss they had all those years ago. We have created a permanent reminder born of love, respect, and understanding of what they went through. This wonderful memorial will mean that they will never ever be forgotten, even when we are all long gone. Thank you everybody for being here.
A very important part of this project was talking to a lot of people in Paisley about the disaster and thinking with them what would make a meaningful memorial to the disaster. We talked to Emily and Robert, we talked to the people from the STAR project, we talked to the children from Paisley Grammar, and we showed people examples of really great art, contemporary art from around the world that deals with loss and trauma. And through discussion around that, we came up with ideas about what would be meaningful for people here. This sculpture is based on a rattle from the 1920s. And when we came to model it, we were looking at the modelling of the 1920s toy, but we were also looking at Renaissance sculpture. Renaissance sculpture. We wanted to make it as beautiful as possible, so the body and the fabric is modelled. We were looking at Bernini and different Renaissance sculptures to make it as beautiful as possible for the park here. For me personally, I grew up in Uplamore, and my dad worked at Sibugagi in Hawkhead next to the cemetery for many, many years, and so it's just been absolutely wonderful to be back here and make a piece of work for here. We've had a really wonderful time doing this project, and we'd really like to thank everybody that's been involved. Everyone that we've met has been so open and generous towards us and towards the project. I'd especially like to thank Emily and Robert and their families, the Star Project, Tony Lawler, Paisley Grammar, the Rotary Club, and the Renfrewshire Council events team. Everyone that we've met has been fantastic. Thank you very much.
It's been an absolute privilege to work on this project, and to be entrusted with making a memorial to such a painful and significant moment in Paisley's history. The Glen Cinema disaster pierced the heart of Paisley 92 years ago, and Kerry and I were very aware of how easily that pain was felt again as we talked to people. And foremost amongst those was Emily and Robert and their families, and I can't say how happy we are to see you both. It's been quite some time. One of the constant and wonderful contradictions in this project has been, while we've been focused on the colossal sadness and trauma, all our interactions with people have been uplifting and joyful. As Kerry said, people have been open and generous of spirit as they talked about something that it seemed almost as if it was buried in silence for many years. I'd just like to say a few things about how this work of art came about. So this idea actually came quite late in the process. We worked through several ideas and locations before we came to this. But it was always important to Kerry and I that the sculpture not be bleak, and that it be for children, and that it be playful and uplifting. When we were looking at images of children's toys from the 1920s and 30s, we came across a little celluloid rattle. And it struck us that rattles from those days were made from celluloid. But that was the rattle that we based the sculpture on. A rattle is one of the first toys that a child receives. And this lovely little rattle with its curiously placed handle spoke to us. So it spoke to us of the smoking celluloid canister that started the tragedy. But more than that, it spoke of the children. It spoke of their little hands, the toys in their pockets, the things they might have dropped. It spoke of their playfulness and of their innocence. And it conveyed something of the sacred. And it also told Emily Brown's story. So Emily was 5 when she went to the Glen Cinema, and she became separated from her 2 sisters during the panic. Her older sister, Jean, managed to hold on to her younger sister, May, who was only 3, and all 3 girls were saved. But Emily's story highlighted to us how the children were completely alone that day, without an adult in sight. Tiny children only had their siblings to look after them, such as Minnie McCran, who was 1 year old. Her name appears next to her sister Nellie on the base. So finally, I'd just like to echo Kerry's thanks to everyone that talked to us, that worked with us, that inspired us and supported our work. We hope that you'll come to love it. But what matters to us most is that we've done right by Emily and Robert and the families of the Glen Cinema children. Thank you.
Oh wow, it's beautiful. My name's Tony Lawler. I've been involved with commemorating and remembering the Glen Cinema and the children of the Glen Cinema since the 75th anniversary, which was 2004. On the 80th anniversary, we introduced an annual commemoration service held up in front of that. We've been coming together there to remember the kids and the survivors. The cenotaph has got a different purpose. It's there for a different reason. Sorry, thank you, Carol. It's there for a different reason, the cenotaph. And there is already a memorial up in Hawkhead Cemetery, but the memorial in Hawkhead Cemetery isn't as accessible as a town centre. I think it's important that Paisley Town Centre has a dedicated memorial, not just because it's easier to get here, but it also provides a fit and focus for the commemoration service. But for me, it's a bit more than that. This memorial creates a space where we can remember gets me every time. We can remember and pay our respects to the 71 kids that died, offer condolences and support to their families. It's as well as showing our support and respect to all the survivors, Robert and Emily being two just now. We need to let them know, and the people of Paisley and the world know, that we will not forget them. We will not forget the children that died, we will not forget the survivors, because they are all children of the Glen. On behalf of the working group, I'd like to thank everyone involved in getting us to this point here. The artists, Kerry and Rachel, Paisley poet Fred McNeil, singer-songwriters Carol Lawler and Tom Urie, the Rotary Club and Future Paisley for funding this, all the community groups that have been involved in this over the years. That's Paisley Development Trust, the Star Project, Paisley Community Trust, the Peoples from the Grammar. There's a whole host of groups, I couldn't mention them all. But I'd also really like to thank Greg and Pauline and Susie from the Town Centre events team for coordinating this. Thank you very much, folks. This is a fitting and beautiful memorial, and just to the 71 kids. And remember, we'll be holding our annual memorial service here. This is Glen Cinema Kids Space, and we'll be holding our annual memorial service here in Hogmanay at 10:30. Please come along, you're more than welcome. Thank you.